Good morning and happy Saturday, you guys. It is Amanda and Barron with Kickin Cancer Cares on KSLM Radio, 104.3 FM and 1220 AM. Our sponsor for this first half is Odd Moe's Pizza, and I've got their menu pulled up here. So I'm going to go over some of their appetizers, which is potato poppers, chicken strips, cheesy garlic bread, Mojo's, boneless wing, donut dunkers, and badonka dunkers.
Badonka dunkers.
Yes. And then for their crust, they've got just the regular white crust. They've got honey wheat. That sounds good. I have to admit, I don't think I've ever done honey wheat pizza crust, and that sounds really good.
It does sound good.
And then they, of course, do their cauliflower crust as well, which is gluten-free, and I do that on the Green Monster, and it's super good. And then their sauces. They've got red sauce, white garlic sauce, barbecue sauce, salsa, chipotle lime barbecue, basil pesto, and vegan garlic white. So all amazing sauces that you could put on any of their pizzas, and their crusts are phenomenal. So I just wanted to touch on a few of those things because I always focus on a few pizzas.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get that in. So thank you so much, Odd Moe's and Mike, for all of your support.
Last week was really fun.
Oh, yes, we were at the basketball court.
We were at the basketball court. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of times we record in studio, but we went to the basketball court.
Yeah.
And before we get too deep into recapping that, I think we should probably introduce a guest.
Yes.
So I've known Sarah now for a while, but Sarah, tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Sarah Matson. I am the founder and lead holistic life guide for Journey Empowered, and we are your guides on the adventure of life. So we create bespoke retreats, we create life plans so that you can have the life that you desire and clear out the baggage that's in the way, and we really promote creatives, musicians, people who are in healing arts that often don't know how to scale a profitable business. Because a lot of us have time, treasures, and talents, and we are not always in the mindset of being worthy of receiving for that. So it's my big passion to create and collaborate and grow and heal the world through movement and play and rest and travel and healthy eating and changing your environment. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, everybody. Yeah. And I'm excited to share more.
Yeah, we're going to get deeper into some other conversations. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to give you a little teaser that we're going to bring her back in a few weeks.
Okay.
Like maybe early June.
Okay.
Today's conversation, we're going to circle back to something that Dr. Cherie Davis said about, is cancer hereditary, or is it environmental, or is it a combination of both?
Right.
But as we talked about the other book that I introduced, the Anti-Cancer book,
Yeah.
one of the things that he mentions is we have to figure out how to heal our bodies from traumas that occurred much earlier in life. And that's not today's topic, but in a future topic, I'm going to bring Sarah back because we're going to talk about that one as well.
Okay, perfect.
So, but it was really fun to be with Jason. What I do want everybody to know that last night was the Cancer Awareness Basketball game.
Yes.
And I can't thank Jason enough for what he did for so many survivors last night. Ashley Davis is our current Go team. And I told her, I said, anybody that you know that wants to wear a black shirt, that from everyone that you help me sell, I'll give you $10. And she had just went crazy just with her friends. There's a whole section of black shirts out there.
That's going to be awesome. That's awesome.
I said, there's not enough time to make it personalized for you. But because we also have YouTube, I did try to make it personalized for you. And I am wearing my
Go Team Ashley.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Got to get the cameras to see it. Bada bing, bada boom.
But this was the shirt we wore for Ashley when we did the polar plunge.
Yes.
But at the game, she just had a bunch of friends that were wearing black. We let survivors come out and be recognized. So last night was really a special moment for survivors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that survivors were able to gather their close loved ones, friends, and family and just go enjoy a night of basketball, carefree.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So thanks to you and Jason.
I got a text from Michael Brown, and he's like, how many tickets can I get? I said, well, how many do you need?
Yeah.
Can I get 11? You bet.
Yes, you can,
Nice.
Michael.
So Michael bought his mom and his dad, his grandma, and his grandpa, and his girlfriend, and they all came.
I love that.
They all sat in a section with Gray because he had brain cancer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So our food this week is another one that you're not a big, huge fan of, I know.
I really look forward to these food things. And then you hit me with these last two.
Tell the ones that are seafood related.
Yes.
Well, this week's is seaweed. And you're probably going to have to give up your chair because I think Ashley has more to comment on seaweed.
That's fair. That's fair.
It does say that seaweed may help combat obesity and reduce heart disease risk. It also is an excellent source of iodine, which helps keep your thyroid healthy. Oh. And this seafood is swimming in antioxidants that help fight free radical damage to your cells.
Okay.
Which is what then can contribute to cancer. So if you can fight the free radicals, your cells have less chance of becoming cancerous.
Okay.
But seaweed may not be everybody's top favorite.
No.
But I do know. But I do know Sarah has some comments about seaweed.
Yeah, so I've really gone down the rabbit hole recently. It's a really hot topic on all the social medias right now about the MTHFR gene mutation, and folic acid is in processed foods and all these things, and it blocks a lot of things, but can cause a lot of disease, including cancer. And so I won't go into that today because that's a whole big topic. Go check out Gary Brecka. He talks a lot about it. But this is a good source of folate, which is a natural and better version of folic acid. So increasing folate and decreasing folic acid is good for about 55% of the population who has this gene mutation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's between 44 and 55%. So
okay.
I learned something new, that this is high in folate, and that's super cool when you look at what that gene mutation can turn off and on based with the right food. So yay.
And the gene mutation she's referring to as a topic for discussion today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what I thought we might do before we jump off from the seaweed conversation is ask our producer to come inside the camera. Come on, Ashley, come on.
Do it.
So
do it.
you need to tell
Heidi.
how do you and your kids eat seaweed?
So I go to Costco and they sell them by the packs, and they
Yep.
have flavored ones, but I like the tried and true, the plain flavor.
Yep.
But we eat them like chips.
Yay.
We'll just
My-
eat a whole little package, which has less sodium than regular chips.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandson is 10, and when he was little, he had an allergy to corn. So all the stuff that normal kids grew up eating, which has corn syrup, all the corn stuff in it, he couldn't eat because he had allergy to it.
Yeah.
He is the only 10-year-old kid I know that eats seaweed like chips.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my grandma used to take me to this restaurant called Kyoto's back in the day.
So good. So sad they
And
shut
so
down.
she was like, if you don't like it, you can spit it out. I was raised on sushi and learned how to use chopsticks, and now I just pass that down to my kids.
So for any of our listeners that need tips on how to eat seaweed, you can always email Amanda and she'll refer you over to Ashley.
It grinds up well too. You could sneak it into things. Yeah.
Well, my big update for the listeners, I've been kind of leading up for this, but as soon as this show gets done airing, or maybe while this is airing, Cheryl Good, who's on our board, Cheryl's role on our board is our support director. More importantly, she is our community development director. And we are currently on our way to Bend.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. Cindy Miracle over there is going to be the guide for the Bend area. We're having a meet and greet to help kind of introduce the Kickin Cancer concept to the Central Oregon area, and then help her find her core group of leaders so that we can really get that community up and off the ground.
Yeah.
It's great.
Awesome.
So I'm excited that,
Congratulations.
this has been a process to figure out how do you chapter an organization.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really it's a lot more work than I ever thought.
For sure.
And it's taken a lot of work with lawyers to figure out how do you change the bylaws, so how do you protect the organization. But we're excited that Kickin Cancer Central Oregon is being launched today.
Woohoo. That's
Pretty
awesome.
exciting.
Yes.
Pretty exciting. But I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. We had a guest 2 weeks ago, and she came down from Vancouver, Washington. Her name is Dr. Sheree Davis. And multiple people in her family had died from cancer. She is Native, and so we said, well, is it hereditary in a family to get cancer? Well, she grew up in Eastern Oregon. She was that part of the state's exposed to all kinds of chemicals. There's a chemical weapons bill over there. It's near Hanford, which has other chemicals. So for her, I think what we decided was it's a combination of being hereditary and environmental. So what I want to do is bring a couple of high-level statistics for you.
Okay.
But then I want you to hear an interesting story from from Sarah.
Okay.
So again, I'm going back to my book, Anti-Cancer Living.
Okay.
And Dr. Cohen starts right off early on in this book. He says, only 5% of all cancers are caused by inherited genetic mutations.
Not very much.
Nope.
Only 5%. Most experts feel that the numbers hover tightly around that 5% range. A couple of examples he gives is the BRCA1 gene. Mm-hmm. And you remember when Dr. Hurley was on the show?
Yeah.
She had that BRCA1 gene. So knowing that she had it, knowing she had that gene and that there was a good chance, and she proactively took steps.
Yeah.
Right? But what I find really intriguing, he says in here, is that this focus on genetic and genetic mutations also unveils an important truth. If 5% of cancers are genetic, that means that up to 95% of all cancers are not caused by inherited genetic defects. They are caused by something in our own power to control the way we live, the choices we make every single day. So 95% of cancers we have some ability to control. And that's a lot of what we try to talk about on this education piece. But that was an interesting piece of information. But then when I got talking to Sarah, your husband has, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the RB1 gene?
Yeah. So, yes. Do you want me to go into that?
So
Okay.
tell you've got another several minutes now.
Okay, yeah.
Elaborate on your husband's story and then what triggered that gene to go live.
Sure. Okay. So,
if I'm phrasing that correctly.
So I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is what I have discovered to be true in hours and hours and hours of research. My aunt is the head of pathology at University of New Mexico, so this has been in my heritage and my blood for years. Like, I grew up watching her on OPB, so I read research papers like people read the newspaper. And because of that, I found out a lot about what downstream affected my son's cancer survival story. But my husband firmly believe he has that MTHFR gene mutation, and he is the carrier for this retinoblastoma gene mutation. But it was dormant. He never had eye cancer. He's never had any kind of cancer. He was in the military where they do countless blood work just to get in, right? You got to be really healthy to get, you can't even be on prescription medication, really. So so he got in, all great, mid-20s, kind of early 20s. And he worked on the flight line on C-130s. And they, at the time, so this was back in 2004-ish, used a jet fuel, J4 jet fuel, in the Air Force. And come to find out, that jet fuel that he was doused with on 2 occasions and breathed fumes in for about 4 years turns on the retinoblastoma gene.
Wow.
So my son got retinoblastoma, which we'll talk about in a bit, because of there's research papers to back this up. I can send you the links. Because of the jet fuel, it wouldn't have been turned on if he hadn't been exposed to that specific jet fuel. So it's not like just you're breathing in car fumes driving down the I-5.
Right.
It was that
That
jet fuel
particular
that
one.
they've now we're on like J6 or something. We've upgraded many times. We went down the route with the VA, like, can we prove this? Can we get compensation for my son who has one eye now? My husband who had thyroid issues, had all this, weight gain, different, you just so, kind of fibromyalgia type things.
Yeah.
Like, why am I sore? Why do I not feel well? And so he went to his doctor, he did all these tests, and they're like, well, the further we get away from your jet fuel exposure, your symptoms every year keep getting lesser and lesser.
Right.
Now he's a pretty healthy person at 43. Today's his birthday, so happy birthday, Kurt. Love you. It was a really fascinating journey for us to discover, with that MTHFR, which I know his family has, all the symptomology, there's like a list of 100 things that are activated by folic acid, seed oils, gluten, dairy, all these inflammatory foods, sugar, coffee, alcohol. And to the best of our ability, we've eliminated those things from our family. Artificial dyes, all you guys know.
Yeah.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Like AIP
all the
diet,
things.
right? For your autoimmune. So with that, Kurt's gotten healthier and healthier. I'm releasing 1 to 3 pounds of weight a week. I'm dancing again. I like spreadsheets now. I didn't like to sit down and do organizational things. So it's changed my whole family's life, and I've been able to talk to more and more people about it. Like, maybe don't work on cars and then like sit in this petroleum stuff and then don't go wash your hands. Like, don't let that soak into your skin. Like, that's cancer. That's estrogenic cancer in a chemical, which bleeds into the skincare and bleeds into so many other things. So for Kurt, we love the military, we love veterans, like very much thankful for everyone's service, but we are not pro exposing these men and women to all these horrible chemicals in the food and the jet fuel and the clothes they wear and the plastics and just how cheap they take care of these men and women, to further this bigger goal, which I want to be a safe country. I want to live in a safe country and have the freedom to say these things. But I do not believe that most big corporations have our best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And that was made very clear when the VA was like, well, too bad, so sad. You're on your own at this point.
So we had a guest probably 6 or 7 weeks ago. His name is Andrew Holbert.
Okay.
And he is the executive director for a place here in Salem called Courtney's Place.
Okay.
It has 36 rooms in it. It's low-income housing for vets to get them off the streets.
Awesome. Okay.
And so he runs that place. And he and I had sat down and talked, and he's probably in his late 30s. And so I had told him what I learned about Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And how now here we sit 60 years after Vietnam, and these vets are developing cancer because of Agent Orange. Then he came on our show, and it was the most interesting conversation about burn pits.
Yes, I'm familiar.
And then he told us how they're actually using to start it was this, the same jet fuel as what you're talking about, but the other piece we didn't get heavily into the conversation just for lack of time, but a lot of the vets are getting cancer because they're in the plane and the fuel is right. The engine, the jet engine is right there, and they're getting that. They're ingesting that fuel or inhaling that fuel, and so it's interesting that you brought up your husband because Andrew talked about the exact same thing. This jet fuel, and I get it. You're in the middle of a desert. You got all this stuff that needs to be disposed of. You don't have a garbage dump. You don't have sanitation like we're used to.
Right.
And so they dig these big, huge pits, and they create burn pits. And I understand the reasoning for it.
Sure.
But what you're exposing veterans to is very unfortunate.
Yes, our friend.
And your husband's now, and your son is now proof of that.
And Lucas, we'll talk about this more, but Lucas carries a 10% chance of hard tissue or soft tissue sarcomas. We all probably have these genetic things, whatever, but that's why he eats so carefully now, because I don't want to activate. Like, sarcoma is far scarier than retinoblastoma.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who's going to get compensation the day he retires because he was at those burn pits. He helped burn the things. And his health journey is interesting. It's very spicy. He's been through a lot. His mental health journey has, and just all the things. So,
Andrew talked about how even now he has difficulty breathing because the sand was just so fine over there.
Yeah.
Like moon dust.
Yeah.
You found some great videos. I mean, again, I encourage our listeners to go to YouTube on Monday, go to Kickin Cancer Productions and watch this, because you can go back and find that episode with Andrew and our Ashley, the producer of the show. She had such great content. She found some videos of these guys walking, and it literally looks like moon dust. It's just such a fine dust. And again, I agree with you. I mean, I want our country safe. I don't want. I want to make sure we have a strong army to protect us for whatever might happen. But at what cost? And are these military guys just pawns to a bigger machine?
That's how it felt, because it was that you're healthy enough. You're healthy enough, so we're not going to compensate you. And just the row, like literally, I'm sorry if anybody's weird about needles, but he'd walk down a row and just injection. And they're doing all kinds of studies now about the heavy metals and what that does in the brain, and all these vets that struggle with suicide and all these things. So it was the jet fuel that turned on that gene mutation, but absolutely the vaccines that are just the cheapest bottom of the barrel vaccines, mass produced, caused its own myriad of issues for Kurt, for our marriage. There were some rocky times. And
were you married when he was going through the military?
So he was in for 4 years. I married him on his last year. So I saw it he almost, at the end. Yeah, he almost got kicked out because his thyroid was so messed up he couldn't lose weight, even though we were working out 6 days a week. We were eating clean. He couldn't lose weight because his thyroid was so out of whack. They put him on thyroid meds. it didn't really do much. Now we have an integrative doctor. Now we know better practices.
Right.
But I mean, he was this close to getting kicked out, and it was their fault.
Yeah.
Like, but they would never admit that.
Oh,
They're
no.
like,
Oh, no.
well, you're eating fast food. I'm like, no, we're not. Like,
Right.
you know, so now he's able to release weight and be healthy and feel healthy and like, you know himself a bit better. But yeah, there were several times where I was like, who did I marry? Like, this wasn't the man I met.
Right.
Like, this wasn't the man I met. So now we're on like version 4 of each of us, right? Like, we all evolve and grow and heal. But
Kurt version 4.0.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm definitely like version 4 or 5, right? So we grow, and all love to him, and especially on his birthday. But yeah, it's been interesting to see what that did and how long it took to recover, and then the effects on our kiddo years later. We didn't have Lucas till, let's see, I was 5 years later. So it wasn't, and it's still turned that on.
So did Kurt have any indication that he had this gene mutation?
No, because retina blastoma is an early childhood cancer, and then he's never had any lumps or bumps or like blood work that would say, oh, sarcomas are an issue. So I mean, but we eat the best we can to prevent that because he's the one with the risk. I don't have that gene mutation.
And the gene we keep hearing is called RB1. It's retinal, which is eye, blastoma. So it's a, and we'll get deeper into this in the second half of the show. The other thing that is interesting, she keeps mentioning these sarcomas. Remember we had Elena and Dr. Isaacson as guests on the show, and we talked about that cancer?
Yes. The
cancer is called rhabdomyosarcoma, and it's a soft tissue cancer, and it can occur really anywhere in your body. Oh. For Dr. Isaacson,
that's right.
It was in his right butt cheek.
Oh.
And he had it was like the size of a grape, he said. But the problem is that they're not painful. You don't realize they're there.
Yeah.
And of course, with Elena, it was her husband who got it in his thigh. Well, and I'm just going to go ahead and announce this now. We're currently with Go Team Ashley. Starting in July, which is Q3, it will be Go Team Elena.
Okay.
Spelled the same as Alana, but pronounced. So Elena is an 8-year-old girl who lives in Independence. And she has rhabdomyosarcoma.
Okay.
Soft tissue cancer. It's in her jaw.
Oh.
So the hinge in your jaw, that joint, that's where it's at.
Oh, no.
And it's unfortunate. Typical protocols for rhabdomyosarcoma is you go in and you cut the cancer out. So in like a Dr. Ison case, they go in and they take that lump out. They can't do it because of where it's located.
Yeah.
This little 8-year-old girl has 78 sessions of chemotherapy.
Oh my gosh.
That's just terrible.
They've got to control it. It can't, if it begins to grow, then it's going to hit her eye, it's going to hit her brain. They've got to control it and then hopefully can kill it. So she came in as a request to the organization, and we are going to step up and help that family out. But these soft tissue cancers are they're really weird because they typically they're not painful. You would think that Dr. Isaacson, if he had a lump the size of a grape on his bottom, that when he sat down, he'd know it was there.
My husband, since that episode, won't put his phone in his pockets.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Because of that.
Really?
Really.
And I just want to jump into, like, if that is the protocol and that's what her parents are choosing to do, super important that she's on a really strict heavy metal detox.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are some studies around the nature of soft tissue cancers and what they could be. And you can do research on your own, but do look up parasites and cancer. There's some fun ultrasound videos, but definitely check out the heavy metal detox as you're doing chemo. It's super important because no matter what it is, you're putting a lot of stuff in your body that could lead to problems later, and detoxing from those heavy metals and increasing the seaweed and the greens and like all those things that naturally flush stuff.
One of the things I love that Mickey Meisner has added to our organization. Mickey runs our chapter up in Vancouver. And we've used the phrase go team, which is really where we rally around somebody. We've added the phrase go to team. And we're going to get deeper into that in the second half because Sarah brings a go to team concept for us.
For sure.
But now when I sit down with somebody, when I hear what's going on, now I have multiple people that I can say, you should be talking to this person. Immediately, I told this guy, you need to contact a lady named Danny Warren. And you need to get some Juice Plus in your system.
Yes.
Because and again, I'm not here to make choices. If that's the route you're going to take, if you're going to hit your body with that much chemotherapy, you better give your body some good stuff to combat it.
Have to.
And if you're going to do the heavy metals, there are people. I mean, there are now resources we can send your way, so that the decisions you're making, you can help your body out. And those heavy metals are bad.
And you can be educated with your decisions.
Yes.
And just educated in general on what steps you're taking, whether there are steps you want to take or don't want to take. You're educated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to make a decision for you.
No,
but
never.
if you don't know, if you can't make a decision based upon what you don't know, like we say, you don't know what you don't know, right? If you, at least you can get some information, and then you can go, maybe I should try that.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Well, what I do know you should try
Is Oddmo's Pizza.
Yes.
Hey, now I'm getting hungry.
And they've got awesome options where you can build your own pizzas. They've got medium, large, and extra large. So the medium's a 12-inch, large is a 14-inch, and extra large is a 16-inch. And they've got all kinds of toppings from pepperoni, salami, Canadian bacon, ground beef, Italian sausage, diced chicken, breakfast bacon, fresh mushrooms, green onions, all of the things. So absolutely go to Oddmo's Pizza if you want a good, healthy pizza with fresh ingredients. All right, we'll be right back.